The first light of dawn on the fourth day revealed something that should not have been possible. Jiho Kim was still moving. After 72 hours without sleep, after carrying Dr. Choi across 127 kilometers of impossible terrain, he was still, putting one foot in front of the other. His body was no longer his own. His legs moved automatically, guided by something deeper than muscle memory. His hands had locked around the stretcher handles, and he could no longer feel them. His vision was mostly gone, but he navigated by instinct and determination. Dr. Choi had been unconscious for the past 6 hours. Her breathing was so faint that Jiho had to stop every few minutes to make sure she was still alive. But she was. Somehow they both were. There, Jiho whispered to no one in particular. I can see the lights. In the distance, barely visible. Through the morning mist were the electric lights of the human settlement. They were less than 2 kilometers away. After 3 days of impossible travel, they were almost home. But Jiho's body had finally reached its absolute limit. His legs gave out, and he fell to his knees. The stretcher tilted dangerously, and he caught it just before Dr. Choi would have slid off. Not now, he told himself. Not when we are so close. He tried to stand, but his legs would not obey. His muscles had nothing left to give. For the first time in 3 days, Jiho felt despair creeping into his mind. Then he heard voices in the distance, human voices calling his name. Jiho, Jiho, where are you? A search party had been organized when he failed to return from patrol. They had been looking for him since the storm ended, but the vast forest had hidden his trail. Now drawn by some miracle or instinct, they were close. Here Jiho tried to shout, but his voice was barely a whisper. Here, I am here. He reached into his pack and pulled out an emergency flare. His hands shook as he lit it, sending a bright red light into the morning sky. Within minutes, the search party had found them. Dear God, said Captain Bong, the leader of the search team. What happened to you? Jiho looked up at his friend with eyes that had seen too much. Dr. Choi is injured. She needs medical attention. Immediately, search team quickly took over, loading Dr. Choi onto a proper medical stretcher and calling for emergency transport. Jiho tried to stand and follow them, but his legs finally gave out completely. He collapsed on the forest floor. His mission complete? You carried her all this way? Captain Bong asked, in amazement, as he knelt beside Jiho. Someone had to, Jiho replied, then passed out from exhaustion. High above them, the Viridian observers watched the rescue with growing understanding. Commander Vec had been silent for the past hour, processing what he had witnessed. Sir Zil said quietly. The human completed his mission. He carried the injured female to safety? Yes, Vec replied. I saw. Our analysis suggests this should have been impossible. No known species could have accomplished what he did. Vec was quiet for a long moment. Perhaps we do not understand what is possible. A communication came in from the Viridian High Command. Observer Vec, report your findings on human capabilities. Vec looked down at the unconscious human who had just redefined the impossible. I request permission to make direct contact with the human leadership. For what purpose? To discuss alliance rather than conquest. There was a long pause. Explain. Hey. Humans are not what we thought they were. They're not weak or primitive. They possess capabilities that we cannot measure or understand. This individual carried another human 127 kilometers over 3 days without rest. He did this not for personal gain, but simply because another human needed help. And if they will do this for strangers, imagine what they will do for allies, or against enemies. Another pause. You are suggesting they are dangerous? I'm suggesting they are extraordinary. We came here to study a primitive species. Instead, we have discovered something far more valuable, which is partners. The communication ended, and Vec made his decision. He would reveal himself to the human leadership and propose formal contact between their species. What he had witnessed in the past 3 days had changed everything. Down. In the settlement, Dr. Choi was rushed to the medical center. Her injuries were severe, but she would survive. The doctors said that a few more hours without treatment would have been fatal. But Jiho had gotten her there just in time. Jiho himself was in a medical bed, receiving treatment for exhaustion and dehydration. He had lost 15 pounds in 3 days, and his body would need weeks to recover. But he was alive, and more importantly, so was Dr. Choi. Captain Bong visited him that afternoon. The doctors say you should have died yesterday. How did you keep going, Jiho? Thought about the question. I do not know. Just could not stop while she needed help. The entire colony is talking about what you did. They're calling you a hero. I am not a hero, Jiho said quietly. I just did what anyone would do. No, Captain Bong replied. You did what humans do, and apparently that is something special. Next day, Commander Vec appeared at the settlement gates. He came alone, without weapons, carrying a white flag and the universal symbol of peace. The human leaders were shocked but agreed to meet with him. We have been watching your colony, Vec explained through a translation device. We came to study you, to understand your species. And what did you learn? Asked Director Soong, the colony leader. That we were wrong about everything. We thought humans were weak, primitive creatures. We believed you were inferior to us in every way. What changed your mind? Vec looked toward the medical center where Jiho was recovering. One of your people carried an injured woman 127 kilometers over 3 days without rest. He did this not because he knew her well, but simply because she was human and needed help. And that impressed you? It terrified us, Vec admitted. Not the physical capability, though that was remarkable, but the motivation, the willingness to sacrifice everything for another person, even a stranger. Director Soong nodded slowly. That is what we call humanity, and it is something we have never encountered before. In our species, logical self-interest guides all decisions. But your people operate on principles we do not understand. What do you want from us? Alliance? Partnership? We want to learn from you, and perhaps you can learn from us. You have technology. That could benefit your colonies. You have something we need, which is hope. The belief that individuals matter. The strength to do impossible things when others depend on you. The meeting continued for hours, laying the groundwork for formal contact between the two species. But the foundation of that relationship had been built over 3 days by one exhausted human who refused to abandon another. Weeks later, Jiho had recovered. He was visited by Dr. Choi. She had made a full recovery and was preparing to return to her research. I wanted to thank you, she said, to tell you that my daughters know what you did. They drew pictures for you. She handed him 2 drawings. One showed a man carrying a woman through a forest. The other showed the same man surrounded by stars with the words, "Our hero," written in a child's handwriting. They want to meet you when they visit next year, Dr. Choi said. I would like that, Jiho replied. Why did you do it, really? Jiho looked at the drawings and smiled. Because someone had to. Because you mattered. Because that is what humans do for each other. Dr. Choi nodded, finally understanding. She had spent years studying alien species across the galaxy, but she had never truly understood her own species until she watched one. Man refused to give up on her. That was humanity's greatest strength. Not their technology or their weapons, but their unwillingness to abandon each other, no matter how impossible the odds. And across the galaxy, other species were beginning to learn the same lesson. The woodland cat had stayed hidden for months, but his 72-hour journey had revealed something far more important than his location. It had revealed what humans were capable of, and someone needed them, and that changed everything. Dr. Park Juan pressed her face against the small window of the transport ship. The massive space station grew larger as they approached. Station Kepler 442 looked like a giant metal flower floating in the darkness of space. Its arms stretched out in all directions, each one bigger than the largest building on Earth. G1 felt nervous and excited at the same time. This was her first assignment away from Earth. She had studied alien biology for 10 years, but only from books and samples. Now she would work with real alien creatures from across the galaxy. The docking was smooth. Gi-won gathered her bags and walked through the airlock. The station felt different from Earth ships. The gravity was lighter, and the air smelled like metal and ozone. Strange sounds echoed through the corridors, clicks, whistles, and hums from the different alien species who lived here. At Commander Kim Daeon waited for her at the entrance. He was a tall man with kind eyes and gray hair. His uniform was neat and pressed, showing his military background. "Welcome to Kepler 442, Dr. Park," he said with a slight bow. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "Thank you, Commander. I am." "Excited to start working," Guan replied, adjusting her bag on her shoulder. As they walked through the station, Guan saw her first real aliens. A group of blue-skinned beings with 4 arms walked past, speaking in musical tones. Near a food station, a creature that looked like a walking tree served drinks 2 smaller, furry aliens with big eyes. "The station houses 12 different species," Commander Kim explained. "We have scientists, traders, diplomats, and researchers. From all over the galaxy. Usually things run smoothly." "Usually?" Juan asked. Commander Kim's expression grew serious. "That's what I need to talk to you about. We have a situation in the lower levels, a dangerous situation." They took an elevator down several floors. The corridors here were quieter, with thick metal doors and warning signs. Red lights blinked above some of the doors, showing that dangerous experiments were happening inside. 3 days ago, we received an emergency call from a Varketh rescue ship," Commander Kim began. "It picked up a creature from their homeworld. The creature was injured and pregnant. Asked us to help because we have the best medical facilities in this sector." They stopped at a security checkpoint. 2 guards in full armor stood at attention. Beyond them, Jiwan could see a long corridor with more red lights. "What kind of creature?" Jiwan asked. "The Varketh call it Subject V7. It looks like a giant wolf, but with 6 legs and fur that shines like crystals. It's about the size of a small car and weighs nearly 300 kilograms." They walked through the security checkpoint. The guards nodded to Commander Kim, but watched Juan carefully. She showed them her identification card, and they let her pass. "The problem is," Commander Kim continued, "the creature won't let anyone near it. It attacks anyone who tries to approach. It has already hurt 3 of our medical staff." They reached a viewing window made of thick, clear metal. Guan looked through it and gasped. Inside the large room, a magnificent creature paced back and forth. Its fur was indeed like crystals, changing from blue to silver to deep purple as it moved. The creature was beautiful, but clearly distressed. "It's amazing," Guan whispered. "It's dangerous," said a voice behind them. They turned to see Dr. Choi Minha, the station's chief medical officer. She was a small woman with tired eyes and worried lines on her face. "Dr. Park, I'm glad you're here," Dr. Choi said. "Maybe you can help us understand what's wrong with this creature." Through the window, Jiwan watched the creature pace. Its movements were not random. There was a pattern to how it walked, how it turned, how it looked around the room. Its crystalline fur kept changing colors, but the changes also seemed to follow a pattern. "Has anyone tried to study its behavior?" Jiwan asked. "We've been too busy trying to keep it from hurting anyone," Dr. Choi replied. "Every time we approach, it becomes violent. Its claws are razor sharp, and its saliva is acidic. It can melt through metal." "What about sedation?" Guan suggested. "That's the problem. The creature is pregnant, and we don't know how alien sedatives might affect the babies. If we use too much, we could kill them. If we use too little, the creature might still attack." A new voice joined the conversation. "Perhaps we should simply dispose of the creature." They turned to see a tall, thin alien with pale skin and large black eyes. This was the Varketh ambassador, a cold being who spoke in a flat, emotionless voice. "Ambassador Kellner," Commander Kim said carefully. "The creature is under our protection now. Creature is expendable," the ambassador replied. "If it cannot be treated, then it serves no purpose. My people have more important matters to attend to." Giwan felt anger rise in her chest. The creature is a living being. It's pregnant and scared. Can't just kill it because it's inconvenient. The ambassador's black eyes fixed on her. "You humans always let emotions cloud your judgment. This is not a pet. It is a dangerous animal that has outlived its usefulness. All life has value, Jiwan said firmly. The ambassador made a sound that might have been laughter. How naive. Very well. Continue your futile efforts. But when someone dies because of your sentimentality, remember that I warned you. The ambassador walked away, his footsteps echoing in the corridor. Commander Kim watched him go with a troubled expression. Don't mind him, Dr. Choi said. Kfar are not known for their compassion. But he's right about one thing. We're running out of time. The creature's condition is getting worse. Guan looked back through the window. The creature had stopped pacing and was now lying on its side, breathing heavily. Its crystalline fur was mostly dark now, with only occasional flickers of other colors. How much time do we have? Juan asked. Maybe 2 days, Dr. Choi replied. Maybe less. If we can't find a way to help soon, we'll lose both the mother and her babies. Juan pressed her hand against the window. The creature's eyes opened and looked directly at her. For a moment, she felt a strange connection, as if the creature was trying to tell her something important. I want to study its behavior patterns, Juan said. There's something about the way it moves, the way its fur changes color. I think it might be trying to communicate. Dr. Choi looked skeptical. It's an animal. Maybe not, Yuan said softly, still looking at the creature. Maybe it's much more than that. The creature's fur flickered briefly with golden light before fading back to dark purple. Giwan had the strange feeling that it had understood her. Words, I need to learn more about this species, she said. And I need to do it quickly. Commander Kim nodded. I'll give you full access to our databases. But be careful, Dr. Park. That creature has already proven how dangerous it can be. As they walked away from the viewing window, Kiwan looked back one more time. The creature was watching her go, its crystalline fur pulsing with faint, sad colors. Something in its eyes reminded her of a person in pain, calling out for help in a language no one could understand. She made a silent promise to herself. She would find a way to help this creature, no matter what it took. The next day, Dr. Park Ji-won arrived at the observation deck with new equipment. She had spent the night reading everything she could find about the Lumine language. The old files from the Varkith database had given her some clues about basic light patterns. The creature was awake and seemed to be waiting for her. As soon as Juan set up the light projector, the creature moved closer to the window. Its crystalline fur began to pulse with soft blue colors. Good morning, Juan said softly, even though she knew the creature couldn't understand her words. She projected a pattern of blue lights on the wall. The creature responded immediately with the same blue pattern on its fur. Dr. Lee Young-ho joined her a few minutes later. Any progress? He asked. I think it remembers me, Juan said. Watch this. She projected a green light followed by a yellow one. The creature tilted its head and responded with green and yellow patterns. Then it added something new, a series of silver spots that appeared and disappeared in sequence. It's trying to teach me more words, Q1 explained. I think the silver spots might mean friend or good. They worked with the light patterns for 2 hours. The creature was patient and seemed to understand that the humans were trying to learn.
Oh.
Made a mistake with the light sequence, the creature would repeat the correct pattern slowly. This is amazing, Dr. Lee said. It's like having a conversation with someone who speaks a different language, but both people want to understand each other. Commander Kim Dae-yoon arrived with Dr. Choi Min-ha. Both looked tired and worried. How is the creature's health? Asked. Getting worse, Dr. Choi replied. The pregnancy is causing complications. Without proper medical treatment, we might lose both the mother and the babies. But we can't treat it if we can't get close, Commander Kim said. Every time someone approaches the containment field, it becomes violent. Juan looked at the creature through the window. It was lying on its side, breathing heavily. Its fur was darker than before, with only occasional flickers of other colors. What if we try to communicate first? Juan suggested. Maybe if it understands that we want to help, it will let us approach. That's too dangerous, Dr. Choi said. We can't risk another attack. But we're running out of time, Ji-won argued. If we don't try something different, the creature will die anyway. Engineering Officer Park Tae-yoon arrived with an improved light communication device. It was smaller and more precise than the first one, capable of creating complex patterns in multiple colors at once. "I've been working on this all night," he said. "It should be able to create much more detailed messages." Yuan connected the new device and began testing it. The creature immediately showed interest, moving closer to the window to see the light. "Patterns better." "Let me try something," Yuan said. He had been studying the old files and found references to a specific light pattern that meant help in the ancient Lumini language. She projected a sequence of blue, green, and silver lights in a specific rhythm. The creature's reaction was immediate and dramatic. Its fur blazed with the same colors, and it stood up despite its weakened condition. "It understood," Dr. Lee said in amazement. "It knows we want to help." But the creature's response was not what they expected. Instead of calm acceptance, it began to pace frantically. Its fur cycled through rapid color changes: red, black, purple, orange. The patterns were chaotic and desperate. "Something's wrong," Yuan said. "It's not just accepting our help. It's trying to tell us something urgent." She studied the color patterns carefully. The creature kept repeating the same sequence: red, black, silver, blue, over and over again with increasing intensity. "Red means danger," Dr. Lee said. "Black might mean death or ending. Silver is friend or good. Blue is calm or peaceful." "Danger, death, friend, peace," Giwan repeated. "It's trying to warn us about something." The creature suddenly stopped pacing and looked directly at the window. Its fur turned completely red, and it began making a low, rumbling sound that they had never heard before. "What's happening?" Commander Kim asked, before anyone could answer. Ambassador Kellner entered the observation area. He was not alone. Behind him came Dvarkith guards carrying strange weapons that glowed with purple energy. Ambassador Commander Kim said carefully, "What is the meaning of this?" "I have decided that this experiment has gone too far," the ambassador replied coldly. "The creature poses a threat to station security. It must be eliminated immediately." "Can't do that," Dr. Choi protested. "Creature is under our protection." "The creature is Varkith property," the ambassador said, "and I have the authority to dispose of it as I see fit." Through the window, the creature's fur had turned completely black. It was backing away from the door, clearly understanding the danger. "Please," Giwan said, "give us more time. We're making progress." "Your progress is meaningless," the ambassador replied. "The Lumine were created to serve." When they stopped serving, they became worthless. This one should have died with the rest, created to serve. Dr. Lee asked, "What do you mean?" The ambassador's expression grew even colder. "The Lumini were not a natural species. They were engineered by my people to be companions and workers. When they began to develop independence, they became a threat." "So you committed genocide," Guin said, horrified. "We corrected a mistake," the ambassador replied. "And now I will correct this one." He signaled to his guards. They moved toward the containment room's entrance. The creature inside saw them coming and began to glow with desperate color patterns. "Wait," Juan said. "I think it's trying to tell us something important." She watched the creature's fur carefully. The patterns had changed again. Now it was projecting a sequence of silver, gold, and blue lights. It's the same pattern repeated over and over. "What does that mean?" Commander Kim asked. Juan checked her notes from the ancient Lumini language files. "Silver is friend, gold is ... double quotes. She paused, searching through the data. "Gold means name or identity. Blue is peace or calm. Friend." "Name peace," Dr. Lee said. "It's telling us its name." The creature continued the pattern, but now it was more focused. Silver, gold, blue, followed by a specific sequence of colors that spelled out something in the ancient Lumini language. "Shiara," Giwan whispered, reading the color pattern. "Name is Shiara." The moment she spoke the name aloud, the creature's behavior changed completely. Its fur turned bright gold, and it moved to the window. For the first time since arriving at the station, it looked directly at the humans with hope instead of fear. Shiara, Jiwan repeated, this time projecting the name in light patterns. The creature's response was immediate. Its fur blazed with warm colors, and it pressed against the window as if trying to get closer to the humans who had spoken its name. Impossible, Ambassador Kellner said, but his voice was less certain now. The Lumini had no individual names. They were numbered, not named. This one has a name, Giwan said firmly. It's not just a tool or a number, it's a person. Commander Kim stepped between the ambassador and the containment room. I'm ordering you to stand down. This creature is under human protection now. You have no authority here, the ambassador replied. This is Varkith's property. This is a Federation station, Commander Kim said. And on this station, we don't kill intelligent beings. The two sides faced each other in tense silence. The Varkith guards had their weapons ready. But the human security forces had also arrived and were taking positions. Through the window, Shiara watched the confrontation with intelligent eyes. Her fur was pulsing with colors that seemed to say, "Please don't let them hurt me." "We need to try a different approach," Juan said quietly to Commander Kim. "If we can get Shiara to trust us, maybe she'll let us help with the medical treatment." "That's too dangerous," Dr. Choi said. "If you go in there and she attacks, she won't attack," Giwan said with more confidence than she felt. "So she knows. We're trying to help. She told us her name. That's the first step toward trust." Commander Kim considered this. "What exactly are you proposing?" "Let me go into the containment room," Juan said. "Not to treat her, just to establish communication. If I can get close enough to use the light communicator, maybe I can explain what we want to do." "Absolutely not," Dr. Choi said. "It's too dangerous." "Everything is dangerous now," Giwan replied. "If we don't try something different, Shiara will die. And her babies will die with her." She looked at the creature through the window. Shiara was still watching them, her fur pulsing with hopeful colors. For a moment their eyes met, and Juwan felt a strange connection. She's not just asking for help, Juwan realized. She's asking for someone to care about her, to see her as more than just a dangerous animal. "The answer is no," Ambassador Kellner said firmly. "I will not allow this human to interfere further." "You don't have a choice," Commander Kim replied. "This is a Federation station, and Dr. Park is acting under my authority." The standoff continued, but Jiwan was no longer paying attention to the argument. She was focused on Shiara, who was projecting a new pattern of colors. This time the message was clear. "Please help me. I'm scared and I don't want to die alone." "I won't let you die alone," Juwan whispered, placing her hand on the window. "I promise." Shara's fur glowed with warm golden light, as if she understood the promise and was grateful for it. The standoff in the observation deck continued for several tense minutes. Commander Kim Dae-yoon and his security team faced the Varkith ambassador and his guards. Through the window, Shiara watched with worried eyes, her crystalline fur shifting between dark colors. Dr. Park Juwan ignored the argument and focused on the light communication device. She had an idea, but it was risky. If she could learn more about Shara's past, maybe she could understand why the creature was so afraid and sick. "Shiara," she said softly, projecting the name in light patterns. "Can you tell me what happened to you?" The creature's fur immediately changed to deep blue, then shifted to black with silver spots. The pattern was slow and sad, like someone telling a story about loss. Dr. Lee Young-ho watched the patterns carefully. "She's showing us something," he said. "The blue and black together. That might mean sadness or grief." Ji-won tried projecting different color combinations, asking simple questions with light. Slowly, she began to understand Shara's story. The creature had not been alone when she was rescued. She had been with someone important to her. There was another Lumini with her, Ji-won realized. Or maybe a Varkith companion. Shara's fur blazed with golden light when Ji-won projected the color pattern for friend or companion. Then the colors turned to deep red and black, the pattern for danger and death. The companion was killed, Dr. Lee said quietly. "That's why she's so afraid. She lost someone she loved." The revelation made everything clearer. Shiara was not just a pregnant alien animal. She was a grieving mother who had lost her partner and was now facing birth alone in a strange place. Dr. Nam Jun, station's biology specialist, had been studying the medical data. She arrived at the observation deck with troubling news. "The creature's condition is critical," she announced. "But it's not just physical. Her stress levels are extremely high, and her body is rejecting the pregnancy. What does that mean? Commander Kim asked. In some species, emotional trauma can cause physical complications during pregnancy, Dr. Nam explained. Without emotional support, the mother's body may not be able to complete the birth process. So she needs more than medical treatment, Jiwon said. She needs emotional healing. How do we provide that? Dr. Choi Minha asked. We can't bring back her dead companion. Ambassador Kellner, who had been listening to the conversation, made a sound of disgust. This is exactly why the Lumini were a failed experiment. They were too emotional, too dependent on bonding with others. A proper tool should work alone. They weren't tools, Gaewon said angrily. They were people with feelings and relationships. Feelings are weakness, the ambassador replied. The Lumini were designed to serve, not to form emotional attachments. When they began bonding with individual Varkith, they became unreliable. So you destroyed them, Dr. Lee said. We corrected a design flaw, the ambassador said coldly. The bonding process was supposed to be simple obedience. Instead, it became something deeper. The Lumini began to refuse orders if they conflicted with their emotional bonds. Jiwon felt sick. You killed an entire species because they loved too much. We ended a mistake, the ambassador replied. This creature is the last remnant of that mistake. But his words gave Giwon a new idea. The bonding process, she said. What exactly was it? Irrelevant, the ambassador said. The knowledge died with the Lumini. Not all of it, Dr. Nam said, checking her research files. I found some references in the medical database. The Lumini could form psychic connections with other species. It was how they communicated and provided emotional support. Could a human form that kind of bond? Guan asked. Theoretically, yes, Dr. Nam replied. But it would be extremely dangerous. The psychic connection goes both ways. If the Lumini is in distress, it could overwhelm a human mind. Or kill you, Dr. Choi added. We have no idea what the long-term effects would be. Juan looked at Chiara through the window. The creature was lying on her side again, breathing heavily. Her fur was almost completely dark now, with only faint flickers of other colors. She's dying, Juan said quietly. If we don't do something soon, we'll lose her and her babies. There has to be another way, Commander Kim said. We can't ask you to risk your life. I'm not asking, Juan replied. I'm volunteering. Absolutely not, Dr. Choi said firmly. I won't allow it. It's not your decision, Jiwon said. Kiora is dying because she's alone and afraid. If I can provide the emotional support she needs, maybe she can survive the birth. The argument was interrupted by an alarm. Red lights began flashing throughout the observation deck. Through the window, they could see Chiara convulsing on the floor of her containment room. She's going into labor, Dr. Nam said, checking her medical sensors. But something's wrong. Her body is rejecting the process. How long does she have? Commander Kim asked. Maybe an hour, Dr. Nam replied. If we can't stabilize her condition, we'll lose them all. Giwon made her decision. I'm going in there. Dr. Park, no, Dr. Choi said. It's too dangerous. Everything is dangerous now, Jiwon replied. But doing nothing is the most dangerous option of all. She began putting on protective gear, but kept it light. Too much armor might make Chiara see her as a threat. If you're going to do this, Dr. Nam said, you need to understand what you're facing. The bonding process isn't just emotional, it's a complete psychic connection. You'll feel everything she feels, the pain, the fear, the grief. I understand, Juwon said. No, you don't, Dr. Nam replied. The connection works both ways. If you panic or feel overwhelmed, it will make her condition worse. You have to stay calm no matter what happens. I can do it, Guan said, though her voice was less certain now. Ambassador Kellner watched the preparations with cold eyes. You are making a mistake, he said. The Lumine bonding process destroyed many Varkith minds. It will do the same to you, Maybe Juan said, but I have to try. She picked up the portable light communicator and walked toward the containment room entrance. Her hands were shaking, but her resolve was firm. Something goes wrong, she said to Commander Kim. Don't blame yourselves. This is my choice. We'll be monitoring everything, Dr. Nam said. If your vital signs become dangerous, we're pulling you out. Give me as much time as you can, Juan requested. Shiara needs to know that someone cares about her. She took a deep breath and entered the containment room. The moment she stepped inside, Shara's head lifted. Her fur began to cycle through. Rapid color changes, fear, hope, confusion, desperation. "Hello, Shiara," Giwan said softly, using both voice and light patterns. "I'm here to help." The creature's eyes fixed on her, and for the first time Jiwan felt a strange tingling in her mind. The bonding process was beginning. "My name is Jiwan," she said, kneeling down slowly. "I know you're scared. I know you're in pain. But you're not alone anymore." Shara's fur began to glow with warm colors, and the tingling in Jiwan's mind grew stronger. She was about to experience something no human had ever felt before, a direct psychic connection with an alien mind. "I'm going to stay with you," Giwan promised. "No matter what happens, you won't be alone." The connection deepened, and suddenly, Giwan could feel Shara's emotions as if they were her own. The fear, the grief, the desperate hope, it all flowed through her mind like a flood. But beneath it all, she felt something else. Gratitude. Shiara was grateful that someone finally understood her pain and was willing to share it. Dr. Park Jiwan knelt on the floor of the containment room, her hand slowly reaching towards Shiara. The creature's crystalline fur pulsed with nervous colors, blue, silver, and gold mixed together in uncertain patterns. "It's okay," Jiwan whispered, using both her voice and the light communicator. "Not going to hurt you." Through the observation window, the medical team watched with tense anticipation. Commander Kim Dae-yeon had his hand on the emergency controls, ready to pull Jiwan out if something went wrong. "Her vital signs are stable," Dr. Namjoon reported, "but Shara's stress levels are still extremely high." Jiwan moved closer, inch by inch. She could feel the psychic connection growing stronger with each step. Shara's emotions washed over her like waves: fear, hope, desperate longing for comfort. "I know you lost someone important," Jiwan said softly. "I know you're scared to trust again, but I'm here now." Shara's fur began to glow brighter. The creature lifted her massive head and looked directly into Jiwan's eyes. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Then, slowly, Shiara lowered her head and allowed Jiwan to touch her crystalline fur, the moment their skin made contact. The psychic bond exploded into full connection. Guan gasped as Shara's memories flooded her mind. She saw images of another world, vast forests with crystal trees, gentle beings with glowing fur, and a sense of peace that had been destroyed by war. She saw Shara's mate, a noble Varketh, named Keleth, who had protected the Lumini during the Civil War. She felt the deep love between them, a bond that went beyond species. And she felt the terrible pain when Keleth died defending a group of Lumini cubs from soldiers. "Keleth Jiwan," whispered, and Shara's fur blazed with golden light. The creature understood that this human knew her story, knew her loss. "I'm sorry," Jiwan said, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry you lost him." But there was no time for grief. Another wave of pain shot through Shara's body, and Jiwan felt it as if it were her own. The labor was beginning, and it was not going well. Dr. Naim Jiwan called out, trying to keep her voice steady. "She's in active labor now. The pain is intense. Can you keep her calm?" Dr. Naim asked through the intercom. "I'm trying," Jiwan replied. She placed both hands on Shara's head, letting the psychic connection deepen. "You're not alone," she said. "I'm here with you. We'll get through this together." Shara's fur pulsed with grateful colors. The creature's breathing became more regular, and some of the panic left her eyes, but the labor was difficult. Shara's body had been weakened by stress and grief. Each contraction brought waves of pain that made both her and Jiwan cry out. "Something's wrong," Dr. Choi Minha said, watching the medical readings. "The first cub is in distress. What can we do?" Commander Kim asked. "We need to get in there and help," Dr. Choi replied. "But if we approach, Shiara might become violent again." "She won't hurt me," Jiwan said, her voice strained from sharing Shara's pain. "The bond is too strong now. She trusts me." "Can you guide her through the birth?" Dr. Nam asked. "I think so," Guan replied. "But I need you to be ready with medical support if something goes wrong. We'll be ready, Dr. Choi promised. The next hour was the longest of Jiwon's life. She felt every contraction, every moment of pain, every surge of effort as Shara's body worked to bring new life into the world. Rewriter. That Jiwon experienced it all as if she were giving birth herself. Breathe, Jiwon coached, using light patterns to communicate. Slow, deep breaths. You're doing great. Chiara followed her guidance, her fur glowing with determination. The creatures. Trust in Jiwon was complete now. She followed every instruction, drew strength from the human's presence. The first cub is coming, Dr. Nam announced. Vital signs are improving. Jiwon felt a surge of joy and relief flowed through the bond. Chiara was excited to meet her babies, despite the pain. The maternal instincts were strong in her species. Psh. Now, Jiwon said, gripping Shara's head gently, your baby wants to meet you. With a final surge of effort, the first cub emerged. It was small and covered in soft silver fur that already showed hints of the crystalline quality it would develop. The cub made soft mewing sounds and began to glow with pale blue light. It's beautiful, Jiwon said, tears of joy streaming down her face. Through the bond, she felt Shara's overwhelming love for her newborn. But there was no time to rest. The second cub was coming quickly. This one's in trouble, Dr. Nam said, checking her readings. The umbilical cord is wrapped around its neck. Jiwon felt Shara's panic through the bond. The creature understood that something was wrong with her second baby. Dr. Choi Jiwon called out, I need you in here. Now. You sure? Dr. Choi asked. Chiara might not accept me. She will, Jiwon said firmly. I'll make sure she understands you're here to help. Dr. Choi entered the containment room slowly. Her medical equipment ready, Shara's fur flickered with nervous colors. But the creature didn't attack. The bond with Jiwon was keeping her calm. Tell her what you're doing, Jiwon said. She needs to understand. Dr. Choi worked quickly but gently, using her instruments to help free the second cub. I'm helping your baby, she said softly, just like Jiwon helped you. Through the psychic bond, Jiwon translated the doctor's actions into feelings that Chiara could understand. The creature remained still, trusting the humans to save her child. Got it, Dr. Choi said with relief. The cord is free. The second cub emerged moments later, smaller than the first, but healthy. Its fur was darker, with hints of purple and gold. It cried softly and immediately began nursing. More, Dr. Nam announced. The third cub is coming. Its birth was easier. The third cub was the largest, with fur that shimmered through the entire spectrum of colors. It was clearly the strongest of the three. 3 healthy cubs, Dr. Choi said, smiling for the first time in days. They're all perfect. Through the psychic bond, Jiwon felt Shara's overwhelming joy and relief. The creature's fur blazed with golden light as she nuzzled her newborn cubs. They responded by glowing with soft, happy colors. You did it? Guan whispered, exhausted, but happy. You're a mother. Chera's fur pulsed with grateful colors. Through the bond, Guan felt the creature's message clearly. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for not letting me be alone. But their celebration was interrupted by a commotion outside the containment room. Ambassador Kellner had returned with more guards, and he looked furious. This is enough, he declared. The experiment is over. Creatures will be destroyed immediately. You can't, Commander Kim said, stepping in front of the ambassador. They're healthy newborns. They pose no threat. They are abominations, the ambassador replied. The Lumine species was meant to be extinct. I will not allow it to continue. These cubs are innocent, Dr. Choi said angrily. They've done nothing. Wrong. They exist. the ambassador said coldly. That is wrong enough. Inside the containment room, Shiara sensed the danger. Her fur turned dark red, and she moved to protect her cubs. Through the psychic bond, Juan felt the creature's desperate fear. You'll have to go through me, Juan said, standing up slowly. The psychic connection had changed her somehow. She felt stronger, more confident. One human cannot stop justice, the ambassador replied. Maybe not, Juan said. But I won't let you hurt this family. She moved to stand between the ambassador and Shara's cubs. Behind her, the new mother gathered her babies close, ready to defend them with her life. "Oh, this ends now," the ambassador said, raising his weapon. But before he could fire, alarms began blaring throughout the station. A voice came over the intercom. "All personnel to emergency stations. Incoming Federation fleet." "What?" the ambassador said, confused. Commander Kim smiled grimly. "I sent a message to Federation Command about your threat to destroy intelligent life. They're here to ensure these cubs receive proper protection." The ambassador's face twisted with rage, but he was outnumbered now. Federation ships were arriving, and his authority was about to be challenged. "This is not over," he said, backing toward the door. "Yes, it is," Giwan replied, her hand still resting on Shara's head. "These cubs are under human protection now. They're safe." Through the psychic bond, she felt Shara's relief and gratitude. The danger was over, at least for now. 3 months had passed since the birth of Shara's cubs, and Station Kepler 442 had become a very different place. The Federation had established a special protection zone for the Lumini family, and scientists from across the galaxy came too. Study and learn from them. Dr. Park Juan sat in the expanded habitat that had been built for Shiara and her cubs. The psychic bond between them had grown stronger over time, creating a connection that amazed researchers throughout the Federation. "How are you feeling today?" Juan asked, using both voice and light patterns to communicate. Shara's crystalline fur pulsed with warm, happy colors. The creature had recovered completely from the difficult birth and was now a devoted mother to her 3 cubs. Each cub had developed its own personality and unique color patterns. The smallest cub, whom they had named Hanyul, had silver fur that sparkled like stars. He was curious and playful, always exploring new things. The middle cub, Bayal, had purple and gold fur and was the most intelligent of the 3. The largest cub, Haun, had fur that could shift through every color in the spectrum and showed signs of being a natural communicator. "They're growing so fast," Dr. Lee Young-ho observed, watching the cubs play with toys that the engineering team had made for them. "Haun is already creating complex light patterns." "Lumini mature quickly," Juan explained. "According to the old records, they develop full communication abilities within 6 months." Commander Kim Daeon entered the habitat with good news. "The Federation Council has approved our proposal," he announced. "Station Kepler 442 will become the official Lumini Preservation Center." "That's wonderful, Dr. Choi," Minha said, smiling as she watched Bial trying to mimic her mother's light. "Patterns. We'll have the resources to search for other survivors." Over the past months, the team had learned that Shiara might not be the last of her kind. There were rumors of other Lumini scattered across the galaxy, hiding on remote worlds or living. In secret, the Federation had organized search teams to find them. "Any word from the search missions?" Juan asked. "Admiral Park reports that they've found evidence of Lumini settlements on 3 different worlds," Commander Kim replied. "They're being very careful in their approach, but it looks promising." The news made Shara's fur glow with excited colors. Through their psychic bond, Ji-won felt the creature's joy at the possibility of finding others of her kind. "She's happy," Ji-won translated. "She's been lonely for so long. The idea of meeting other Lumine makes her feel hopeful." Research specialists? Han Suman arrived with her daily reports. "The language database is growing quickly," she announced. "We've cataloged over 500 different light patterns and their meanings. The Lumini language is far more complex than we originally thought. It's like poetry made of light," Dr. Lee added. "Each pattern can have multiple meanings depending on the context and the emotional state of the speaker." The cubs were natural teachers, showing the humans new patterns every day. They seemed to enjoy the learning process, often creating simple, games to help the humans understand their language better. Dr. Park, Engineering Officer Park Tae-yoon, called from the observation deck. "We have visitors." A group of Federation officials entered the habitat. Led by Admiral Sarah Chen, they were accompanied by several alien dignitaries, including a new Varketh representative who looked very different from the cold Ambassador Kellner. "Dr. Walda," Park Admiral Chen said with a smile, "I'd like you to meet Ambassador Tinner of the Varketh Reform Council." The new ambassador was younger than Kellner, with warmer eyes and a more open expression. "Dr. Park," he said, bowing respectfully, "have come to apologize for my people's actions. What Ambassador Kellner did was wrong." "Thank you," Juan replied, "but you should apologize to Shiara. She's the one who suffered." Ambassador Tinner approached Shiara slowly, his hands empty and his posture non-threatening. "I am sorry," he said. Speaking in the ancient Varketh language that Shiara understood, "My people made terrible mistakes. We forgot that the Lumini were our friends, not our tools." Shiara's fur shifted through thoughtful colors. She studied the new ambassador carefully, then projected a pattern of cautious acceptance. She was willing to forgive, but she would not forget. "The Reform Council has voted to provide full reparations to the Lumini species," Ambassador Tinner continued. "We will help fund the Preservation Center and assist in the search for survivors." "That's a good start," Juan said. "But the most important thing is making sure this never happens again," agreed the ambassador replied. "We've already begun teaching our children about the true history of the Lumini. They will learn that intelligence and emotion are gifts, not flaws." Admiral Chen had more good news. "The Federation is establishing a new department for interspecies empathy research. Dr. Park, we'd like you to head the department." "What would that involve?" Guan asked. "Training diplomats and first contact specialists in emotional communication," Admiral Chen explained. "Your work with Shiara has shown us that understanding feelings might be more important than understanding words." Juan looked at Shiara, who was watching the conversation with interest. The creature's fur pulsed with encouraging colors. "Thinks you should do it," Dr. Lee said, reading the light patterns. "She believes it will help prevent other species from suffering like the Lumini did." "Then I accept," Juan said, "but I want to work from here. Station will be my base of operations." "Of course," Admiral Chen agreed. "He wouldn't dream of separating you from your family." The word family made Shara's fur glow with warmth. Golden light? That's what they had become. A family of humans and Lumini, working together to build a better future. As the officials left, Juan sat down next to Shiara and her cubs. The psychic bond between them was stronger than ever, and through it, she could feel the creature's contentment and hope. "We did it," Juan said softly. "We saved your species." Shara's response came not in light patterns, but directly through their mental connection. It was a feeling of deep gratitude, love, determination to help others who might be suffering in silence. The three cubs gathered around their mother and their human friend, their fur glowing with happy colors. They were the first generation of Lumini to grow up in freedom without fear or hiding. They would never know the pain their mother had endured, but they would carry forward the message of hope and connection. Dr. Namjoon entered the habitat with exciting news. "The genetic analysis is complete," she announced. "The cubs are perfectly healthy, and their offspring will be viable. The Lumini species has a real chance at survival now." "How many survivors would we need to rebuild the population?" Juan asked. "With the three cubs and hopefully a few dozen adults from the search missions, we could have a stable population within a generation," Dr. Nam replied. "It won't be easy, but it's possible." That evening, as the station's artificial day cycle, Dim Deguan remained in the habitat with her adopted family. She had given up her apartment and moved into the observation quarters, wanting to be close to Shiara and the cubs. "Are you happy?" she asked Shiara, using their private mental connection. The answer came as a flood of warm emotions. Shiara was not just happy, she was grateful, hopeful, filled with love for the humans who had saved her and her children. "I have something to tell you," Giwan said, projecting her thoughts through the bond. "The Federation wants to establish Lumini settlements on several worlds, safe places where your people can live freely." Shara's fur blazed with excited colors. The idea of her species having real homes again Places where they could raise families and live without fear was everything she had dreamed of. Will you help us choose the locations? Juan asked. We want to make sure they're perfect for your people. Shiraz's agreement came with such intensity that Jiwan laughed out loud. The creature was ready to work, to help rebuild what had been destroyed as they sat together in the quiet habitat. Surrounded by the soft glow of the cub's fur, Guan reflected on how much had changed. She had come to the station as a simple researcher, but she had become something much more important, a bridge between species, translator of emotions and a protector of the innocent. The universe was vast and full of different kinds of life. Some were friendly, some were dangerous, and some were simply misunderstood. But with patience, compassion, and the willingness to see beyond surface differences, bridges could be built between any species. Thank you. Shara's message came through the bond, accompanied by images of her cubs growing up in safety, of other Lumine being found and rescued, of a future where her species could thrive again. Thank you, Juan replied, for trusting me, for letting me be part of your family. The cubs stirred in their sleep, their fur pulsing with dream colors. They were the future of the Lumini species. But they were also something more. They were proof that compassion could overcome hatred, that understanding could defeat fear, and that sometimes the most important diplomatic breakthrough came from one person's willingness to kneel down and whisper a frightened creature's name with gentle care. As the station settled into its night cycle, the habitat glowed softly with the warm light of a family at peace. Outside, the stars shone down on a universe that was a little bit brighter, a little bit kinder, because humans had learned to speak the language of light and love.